What's up, guys? It's JZNES back again to talk about some Mario World on the Super Nintendo there, and also on the Game Boy Advance. That's a game that I used to play a lot. It's one of the two games I think I initially got with my Game Boy Advance was Mega Man Battle Network 1 and then Super Mario Brothers, or Super Mario World, Super Mario Advance 2. One of those good titles. Anyway, so I played a lot of this version, but before I played this version, I actually did play a lot of the Super Nintendo version back in the day, because it's one of the systems we had. We didn't have a lot of Super Nintendo games. We did have, obviously, Super Mario World was one of them, and I used to play that one a lot. I think out of the old games that I played, that's the one I remember playing, like, probably the most. Like, the old, like, NES and Super Nintendo games. Because those were my brother's games. Not necessarily my games, but out of those games, I think Mario was the one I sunk the most time into. I remember getting stuck on the early game. I mean, I was bad at games, I guess, or I couldn't get past the second castle for some reason. My brother had to help me do it. I don't think I ever beat the game as a kid until I got the Game Boy Advance one. Uh, and I remember sinking a bunch of time into that one. I could never get past the Special World 2, which was Tubular, which is the one where... And I thought that section was longer, but I mean, I did have a... Well, I had the rewind function this time around because of Switch Online, so that really helps. But I remember one time me and my brother were sitting there trying to... I handed it back and forth to try to get through that, much later on when the Game Boy Advance one came out. But I never did get through that one out there. I got through it this time around is the only time I ever beat the Special World was this time. So yeah, I did that, finally. I beat all the levels. I think there's a couple hidden levels I didn't get around to. There's lots of secrets in this game, a lot of hidden exits and stuff, and that's really cool. So that adds a lot of replayability to the levels. Like Super Mario Brothers 3 was a much simpler game in terms of there wasn't a lot of secret like levels or areas to go to. There was a couple of sections like on the overworld. Everything was on the overworld that you would have to find a way to get to there. It wasn't like you exit a level in a secret way and it makes a path to a new level and there's like a star road and shit. And, that leads to like a special world and all this shit. Surprisingly, there was only 7 worlds, but there is the Star Road, and the Special Worlds. That kind of counts as like an 8th world. It's kind of your bonus world, which is cool too, because they add not only Yoshi, which is a huge addition, but they add multicolored Yoshis, which, so you get like the blue one whenever you swallow a thing. You, like a shell from a Koopa, you can like fly. They have the red one that I think is fire. The yellow one, which like stomps on the ground and stuff. All sorts of different ones. So that adds a lot of utility. But you don't find those just in the regular game. You have to go to the Star Road to find those. So, but those are really cool. I always use the blue Yoshi because he's awesome and he can fly. The cape feather is an iconic power-up that you can fly up with. It's not quite as good as the tail from the last game. The Tanuki suit or the raccoon tail, I guess it would be. But it still has a lot of utility and it's still good and it's still very similar. You run and then you kind of fly it for a minute. There's a way to kind of keep it going, but I don't really remember how to do that, so and I didn't really get it to work. Surprisingly, I was using this. With the last games I had the NES controller, and I did have like a Super Nintendo controller at one point from like 8-bit dough, but it kind of died. It doesn't work anymore. But I found myself using the analog stick, right? Oh my god, the analog stick versus the D-pad. Like, I don't know, it's really odd, but I played a lot of the game with the analog stick, which it's kind of unheard of. I mean, I know people do that, but I'm just like, usually I'll use a D-pad with stuff, and had I had one of my Super Nintendo controllers that would work, I would have used that, but Thus it was not so. But yeah, Super Mario World. I mean, there's so many great additions. Uh, it's probably my favorite 2D side-scrolling Mario game. I mean, bar none. I mean, the closest is Super Mario World or Super Mario Brothers 3, which I don't think is as good as this because this has a lot of cool things like the secrets, those switches which make blocks either appear or they'll make it appear if you hit the switch, or if you haven't hit that switch, those blocks aren't there, and then certain power-ups and certain obstacles will come after you, or or the power-ups will be missing was my other point to that. So those are really handy. But they're hidden behind secrets. You kind of have to find all of those, which is cool. There's a lot of replay value to the game, finding all the hidden exits and stuff. It's like to get 100% just would take a while without the internet. I mean, obviously nowadays you can just look that up. But yeah, there's a lot to explore and do in this game. It's still a short game. I still beat it in like maybe 6 hours or so. I don't know. I just played it I played 5 of the worlds last time, and then I played 6 and 7 this time. And there's cool shit, like there's a way to sneak right into Bowser's castle after I think the second world or something. If you go to Star Road, right, you can as long as you beat Star Road, which you can get to about the second world, you can get to the star that takes you right to the back entrance of Bowser's castle, so you could beat the game super early, but then you'd be missing the rest of the game, which is also great. Some of the special levels are really kind of insanely hard. The one in particular with the bullet bills, and you have to get over these huge pipes and stuff, is that one was very frustrating. But that, if any level was the most frustrating level, is that one. I'm glad I had the rewind feature there, because otherwise that would have been a pain in the ass. It still was a pain in the ass regardless, because you can't really get height, because you have to jump on the bullets, but you have to get the screen to be where the bullets are coming, but then by the time you do that, they shoot the bullets and then they shoot you, so it's a really specific pattern you have to kind of get down. Yeah, that was an annoying level. But there's a lot more variety of enemies in this game too. There's these football guys, there's these hammer bros that are on these little platform things. There's all sorts of crazy shit. And if you beat the special world, actually, it changes the whole game. All the enemies and stuff look different, and the whole color scheme of the game changes to an autumn theme, which is weird and cool. The Koopas are all wearing Mario masks for some reason, which is cool. There's a secret area, which is fucking awesome. Top secret area, that is, in World 2, where you can just go back to, and it's just a tiny level, and all that's there is a Yoshi and 2 cape feathers and 2 fire flowers, and whichever one you start with. Obviously, if you're small, you're gonna get mushrooms, but you can use it to just keep infinitely farming lives too, because if you go back there with the Yoshi, you jump in the middle one, and then you keep getting lives. And obviously, I didn't really need that many lives because I had the rewind function, but when I was a kid, that's what I would do. I would go back there and keep farming lives. So yeah, I mean, I just feel like everything is a little bit better. It's a little bit bigger. There's a more variety of levels and level design. It's really non-linear in some levels. Most of them are linear, but you know what I mean? You can kind of take some branching paths and stuff, and it's kind of getting all these secrets. And just looking for all of that stuff is good content for your game, I feel like. It's very satisfying. It's very rewarding. I like all of that. That's really fun. And just the gameplay and the level design, adding Yoshi, the bonus areas. They have a thing where every time you get to the flagpole, it's not a flagpole, but I don't know, the goal thing. If you hit the little bar, it'll give you points towards this thing, and then you get this bonus game where you gotta hit these things, and if you line up enough of the same thing, it'll give you a bunch of lives. So that's cool. we're missing a lot of the little mini game things that were in Mario 3, where like the Toad houses and that kind of stuff. That could have been cool to see, like the matching game and all of that. So it is kind of missing a little bit of that, but they do replace it. I mean, they don't really replace it. They have a lot of good levels in there, and a lot of, like I said, a lot to explore, and like branching paths on the overworld and stuff based on how you beat levels. There's little hint blocks where you can bang into them and it'll like tell you certain things, so it might give you a hint onto how to beat the levels. I didn't really see most of those, but it could also be argued maybe this is the kind of game where you need a guide to be able to finish it or whatever, but not really. You just kind of have to explore and utilize everything that you have. There was no levels like that level in Mario 3 where it's like, that castle where you have to like know to go down through the coins and hit the secret switch and all that shit. There's nothing like that. It wasn't anything super cryptic. So I appreciated that. It was a much more straightforward game, but also, like I said, has a lot of secrets. So it balances everything nicely to encourage replayability of the levels. There's the Yoshi coins too, where if you get 5 of them, you get an extra life. I think in the GBA game it counts each of those, and like that you've collected all the coins in each world or each level or whatever. Not that it does anything, but like here it's just for an extra life. So I mean they're fun to collect along the way. A little nice little challenge to add to yourself if you want to go back and replay a level or something. So that's fun. Graphically, it's a nice step up. Oh, you have this little spinny move that you can do to like kind of get through blocks that are like below you and shit. That's kind of nice. Feels kind of like a precursor to the ground pound and stuff like that. Yeah. It just feels good. It's a fun game to play. It feels tight. It feels better. It feels it's just cool. It looks better. Everything's really colorful, and it's all 16-bit now, so that's real nice. It's a certain charm, obviously to the NES games as well, but a certain charm to this era, especially of Mario. It just looks really cool. It's such a great Mario game. It's like the perfect 2D Mario game. Like pretty much every Mario game after this was trying to just be this fucking game, and failed at that premise, because you can't be as good as Mario World, in my opinion, for sure. And the music's fucking great. I mean, that's iconic, and you're waiting for me to say that, weren't you? Because it is. It's great, obviously. Fucking great-ass music. It's fucking really iconic. It's good music. Good shit. Each world has one of the Koopa kids. So they're back. They're in 3, so yeah. So they're back. So you fight them at one of each of the castles. They each have like a fortress castle too. Where you fight Reznor, which is like these little Triceratops dinosaurs on these things, like this rotating platform, and like the floor is coming out from underneath you, so you have to like be really quick about it. There's like the dry bones enemies now. I don't think did they have those in Mario 3? I don't remember if they had those in Mario 3 or not. They're in this game, so that's cool. Yeah, they had those in Mario 3, obviously, but they're cool here too. You can take them out with the cape feather. That's nice. Can you take them out with the raccoon tail? Yeah, you could in Mario 3. That's right. Yeah, so better variety of enemies, I would say, was a good thing about it. What else? What else to talk about? Is it the same thing again? Okay. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that's kind of the extent of it. It's the next evolution of Mario, you know? Finally, we're in the Super Nintendo era. There wasn't really a lot of Mario 2D platformer games in the Super Nintendo era. There was like Yoshi's Island, but that was a whole different kind of game, you know? They did Nintendo didn't necessarily do that, but a lot of other people did these kind of games, like Donkey Kong Country, which is kind of a different take on this similar thing. And I do want to review those games at some point here. I might take a break from Mario, or I might do the Mario World games and then, or sorry, Mario Land games and then do Donkey Kong Country before I start hitting into the 3D Marios that I haven't covered yet, which is only a couple of them. Or maybe I'll do Yoshi's Island 2 as well. Yoshi's Island, Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island. Yeah, you gotta love these titles. Anyway, the fight with Bowser's cool. You have to like throw these like things up at him. He like has this like floating helicopter kind of thing. He flies around up there with it, and Princess Peach comes out and says, "Woo! Mario, here, take a mushroom!" And she throws a mushroom at you, and you're like, "Peach, I don't want that shit. I got 2 cape feathers. Trying to fucking survive here, and you're throwing mushrooms at me, and I lose my cape feather because of that." But she looks weird in this game too, by the way. That's it's odd. Um, I like how when you beat a castle, Mario do all these little gags, like he'll blow it up or he'll like erase it and shit. It's pretty funny, you know, like nice little humor. A lot of places here in the game. Anyway, the final boss battle with Bowser. Bowser's Castle is like a variety pack of like a lot of things you've experienced through the game, and so that's pretty cool. Um, but yeah, it's a fun final boss. It's definitely unique and interesting. A little more in depth than the Mario 3 boss. He'll like throw like the giant bowling ball down at you, and then he like at some point he starts like pounding down at you, and you kind of have to hide in between his jumps. It's crazy. You have these little dragon mecha like wind-up toy dragon things, and you can jump on their head, and then you like toss them up, and they hit Bowser on the head. I think you have to hit him like 6 times or something. It's more than like 3, you know, which is the Mario standard. So, but yeah, I mean this is just a classic 2D Mario game. I don't know of a better one that's a 2D Mario game. You know, it's the ghost houses. I forgot to talk about those. Yeah, those are always interesting. Always kind of, those are kind of more those puzzly levels where you kind of have to figure out what's going on and stuff. So that's always fun. I want to get to some of the other music, that way we can hear it before I end this here. Let's just do the ending credits. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just a really fun game. I know I've probably said that like a million times now. The music's great. The aesthetic is good. The secrets give lots of replay value. In terms of 2D Marios, it's the king. It's the GOAT. There's none better. It's that classic step between the basic 8-bit era to this like 3D era, which was kind of the next step after this game in terms of mainline Mario games, you know? Like I said, there was a lot of little ones in between, like Yoshi's Island and the 3 Mario Land games on the Game Boy there, but nothing really counted as far as I'm concerned until Mario 64. Much like how Zelda did Link to the Past on the Super Nintendo, and then the next one was the 3D game with Ocarina of Time. Actually, there was Link's Awakening in between there. But similar with the Game Boy games, you know what I mean? Like, I count Link's Awakening towards the main Zelda series, but you get what I'm saying. Is the idea is like, the next like really big Mario was like Mario 64, so that's like kind of mind blowing. It's like a big step, you know, from the 16-bit game like this. So, Um, yeah, it's just really good. It's the perfect Mario game. That's perfect side-scrolling Mario game. You know, to me, like, uh, it's still one of, if not my favorite Mario games. Maybe only in contention with like Galaxy or like, I don't know, Mario RPG or something. But even that, like, probably doesn't really hold a candle to it. Just because, you know, it's such a perfect game, and then it's like, of course, I've got the nostalgic connection on top of that. That's nice. Um, to me, it is Mario. That's what Mario's all about. Is this game? You know, this kind of. It's like the classic four games. You know, you have Mario 1, 2, 3, and 4, and they're all super classic games, foundational pillar games of their eras. You know, it kind of defined it helped define another era of Mario. You know, the original game made side scrollers such a big deal, and then, you know, each iteration kind of helped a little bit more. But then there was like Mario World. It was like the next leap in things, and then Super Mario 64 was just like another freaking huge leap. So, always pushing the technology forward and the gameplay and just what is possible with a platformer. You know, these early Mario games were doing. So, and that's what makes them so special. Is they're just special games because they were really revolutionary for their time, and you know, they were influential. You know, so yeah, Super Mario World, I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10. Obviously, I love Super Mario World. Um, Probably, if not my favorite Mario game, definitely my favorite 2D Mario game. So yeah, uh, that's all I gotta say. Stick around for more reviews, underrated games, and until next time, JZ out.